The roll call, please. Kreger, Johnson, Mavis,
Here.
Moline, Odeyemi, here. Riggs is here, Sowards,
Here.
Witten, here. Wright. Here. Is there any public comment at this point? And this is not specifically about the gardening ordinance, just generally speaking at this point. And do you want to say something, Tanner, too?
Yeah, so for folks here for the Urban Ag listening session, we have a couple other agenda items to get through, so sorry about that. We're going to take care of regular business and then move on to the listening session. So just hang tight. Appreciate you being here, and we will get to that shortly.
Okay, first item, approval of the November 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion by Mavis, second by Sowards. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Next item, there's no old business, so we'll go on to the public hearings. Public hearing request 2025-26 from John Henshin to consider a variance from the Rock Island zoning ordinance for property at 1720 Big Island Parkway in an R1 one-unit residential district. Eunice.
The applicant is John Henshin. Through the permitting process, it was revealed the applicant intended to locate a garage in the front yard of the property. The applicant was informed that the variance would be needed for the garage to be located in the location. The request is for one variance to locate a 24 by 30 feet garage in the front yard of the property. That is 114 feet away from the front property line along Big Island Parkway. The zoning requirement states that accessory structures such as garages are not allowed in the front yard. The variance will be authorized if two of the three conditions are met. The commission will make the final decision regarding this request. Condition 1, staff reason the property can yield a reasonable return without the variance. While staff recognize the irregular shape and size of the property has an existing attached garage which provides a reasonable and functional accommodation for typical vehicle and storage needs. The inability to construct a garage in the preferred location does not deprive the owner of a reasonable use of the land, as the primary residential function remains fully intact. So this condition is not met. Condition 2, the property presents unique conditions due to its regular lot shape, the unusual orientation of the dwelling, and its substantial overall size. While the proposed garage is technically located within the front yard, the depth of the parcel allows it to be set much farther back than a typical front yard structure, preventing it from appearing as a conventional front yard accessory building. So this condition is met. Condition 3, the proposed garage will not extend past the front building line of neighboring properties. Given the large size of the parcel, the structure can be placed with substantial setback from the roadway, minimizing visual impact. Staff reasoned that the variance would not alter the character of the neighborhood. So this condition is met. The Community Development Department recommends that the Commission approve the variance as there is a unique circumstance and the garage will not alter the character of the neighborhood.
Thank you, Eunice. Are there any questions from the Commission to Eunice? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this item? Come on up.
Hi.
Will you state your name for the record, please?
Corey Hale.
Hi, Corey. Go ahead.
I'm Corey. I'm with Top Choice Construction. I'm the one that will be building the garage. A couple of key points that they included for the reason as the location of the garage would be, it allows storage of necessary lawn equipment so that John, who has a permanent handicap, can park in their current garage that is attached to their house. The home has a very large setback from the parkway, with a variance putting the new garage attached to the driveway, because it would tie off of their existing driveway. So it wouldn't be like we would be pouring a long new driveway. It would be, the driveway would allow it to be built within or with removing only 2 trees and a small crabapple tree. With a variance, if it were built next to the existing garage, we would need to remove between 7 to 10 trees to be able to do it. We feel that this would have a negative impact on the natural beauty of the neighborhood. The proposed garage would be synthetically built to match the existing home, so it will be color matched. It will have the same color siding, shutters, including cedar shingle decorations on it, and it would allow it to blend, into the overall property.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Hale? Are you Mr. Henshin?
I am.
Would you like to speak in favor of the item?
Yes, I would. He pretty much said everything I was going to say. So, because of my bad knees and bad back, that being able to park in the garage, especially like in weather like right now, would be amazing to be able to actually park in the garage. Because right now it's over a 3-acre property, so we have a large professional lawnmower and all sorts of other just to take care of all that. So, yes, I'd like to speak in favor of that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience care to speak in favor of this item?
Hey, sir, I got a question for you, if you don't mind. Yeah. Your neighbor to the, I guess it'd be to the west?
To the west.
Okay. Does his house face to the east? Does it face like towards your driveway?
It faces kind of like northeast.
Northeast, yeah.
Okay.
But he has a garage.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is his garage is in his front yard. Technically, it's in front of his
Technically,
house.
there's the front door and there's
Yeah, it's
the
true.
garage.
I just wanted to make sure I knew how it was situated.
I don't know if it is, if you think
And
the
that was
street
his
is
house
there.
garage. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak against this matter? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I motion that we approve the variance.
Motion by Witten, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mavis, is there any discussion?
It's sitting on 3 acres and I don't think it's gonna,
Like you said, it's set back so far. Like,
Yeah.
I'm actually in the situation at home because of my front yard, but the city said that because it's in the neighbor's backyard, it's technically not a hindrance to their site, either way down the road. And so I can see it, and his neighbor's got a garage too.
Looks like the neighbors on both sides have it too.
yeah, it's like 114 feet setback, so I
Right.
mean, we're not talking, it's not an eyesore.
And actually, Big Island Road is just, it comes like at a 45-degree angle, so
Yeah.
you can't really see the garage from Big Island while you're driving to Blue.
Right,
You're right upon it.
yeah, I don't see a problem with it.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call. And for the record, I note that Mr. Moline and Mr. Kreger are also present at this time. So with the vote, we'll go Kreger.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
It was a motion to approve the variance request.
Aye.
Mavis,
Yes.
Moline,
Sorry, I wasn't here for the other, but I did read the report, so it's yes.
thank you. Odiyemi,
Yes.
Riggs votes yes. Sowards,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Wright.
City's wasting money on that.
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Your variance has been approved. Next item, public hearing request 2025-27. Public hearing request from Tom Lawrence to consider a variance from the Rock Island zoning ordinance for an unrelated group use for property at 3312 7th Avenue in an R2 1 and 2 unit residential district. Eunice.
The applicant is Tom Lawrence. Through the rental registration process, it was determined that the subject property is located less than 65 feet from another existing unrelated group use. The property is intended to accommodate 4 residents and provide 4 on-site parking spaces. Staff informed the applicant that variance will be needed because an unrelated group use cannot be located less than 300 feet from another existing unrelated group use. The variance will be authorized if 2 of the 3 conditions are met. The commission will make a final decision regarding this request. Condition 1, staff reasoned the property can yield a reasonable return without the variance, as the property can still serve its intended purpose as a standard single-family home under the current zoning. So this condition is not met. Condition 2, Proximity to a local college is considered an extraordinary circumstance unique to this property in its intended use. So this condition is met. Condition 3, there are other student rentals located in the vicinity indicating an established presence of this type of housing. Staff reason that allowing the use will not alter the character of the neighborhood. The Community Development Department recommends that the Commission approve the variance as there is a unique circumstance and the unrelated use will not alter the character of the neighborhood.
Thank you, Eunice. Are there any questions of Eunice by the commission?
Did we get any feedback from any neighbors, or will that come later?
From sending out the notice, you're asking?
I'm asking, I'm not sure whether I should ask that now or later. I'm wondering if when this came up, if you've gotten any replies from any of the neighbors.
No, we've not received any opposition from neighbors or any agreements.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this matter? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak against this request? Is the applicant here? No? Okay. Anything else by the commission? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I'll go with I'll make a motion that we go with the city's recommendation that we approve the variance so we can open it for discussion because it's alter the characteristics of the neighborhood and unique circumstances.
Thank you. Motion by Mavis. Is there a second? Second by Odayemi. Discussion, please.
Anybody know who Tom Lawrence is? I mean, is he part of, I'm assuming this is gonna be like, rentals for Augustana? Anybody know?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I would assume so.
Yeah. The only question I have, I think I read it in here, but he's got 4 on-site parking spaces. That was the one issue in the Augie area, where there has to be parking, off-street parking for each tenant.
I have a question for staff. If you look at the parcel map or so the items in gold that are outlined, are those also unrelated group uses?
Yes, those are.
Okay.
How many units is this particular property divided into?
It's a 1-unit property with, it's proposed to have 4 people living there.
Okay.
Yeah, with Augie, they would rent out per room, not per space. So.
It does have the parking
It said it did, yeah.
The parking is behind it in the alley. You can see there's an alleyway there. So it might have been used to be a garage or something.
Just saying, on 7th Avenue, out of the 11 properties on 7th, 8 of them are by an LLC or something like that, so you know they're rented. So, I don't have a problem with another one.
How many other, obviously, you know I was at Augie and I appreciate the students, but I also know you get a bunch of students in those houses and even though the building is the same, it does change the character, it could change the character of the neighborhood. How many other houses along that section of 7th Avenue are already non-traditional Rock Island family people? How many, or put it the other way, how many of them already have 4 students in them?
So the ones indicated on I don't have a specific number about the unrelated group uses. Do you know a total number in that area? So there are, on the map that you see, as Maureen pointed out, the houses in gold are the unrelated group uses. So that either means they have 4 or 5 unrelated folks living there. There could be very well other rental properties that have 3 or less people, and I'd imagine there are quite a few of those along that stretch. We haven't got a specific number. Some of it's hard to, if it's just an LLC that owns it, it's a rental property. Are there students living there? Is it just a regular rental property? More than likely, it's probably students, but we don't know exactly.
That map
It-
up there.
We know, though, we know that sometimes, even if there are only 2 or 3 living there, it can become a gathering place. Follow-up question. The college, as you may know, is now very concerned about its relationship with the neighborhood. It's in the long-range plan. It's the first time, rather than just faculty and curriculum in that, they're very concerned about the neighborhood and who ought to be owning those houses, et cetera. So I'm wondering if it might be worth, before we act on this, to double-check to see how that plan is coming, to see whether they would say, oh, no, now another private home is going to become a student home, or whether they would say, that's good, that's what we need. I'm wondering if it might be worth it to check with them, to delay action on this for a month. I hadn't thought that, was a big issue, and if the rest don't agree with that, I understand.
That would be up to the commission. The one thing is that, they could very well just rent it out to 3 folks, and that's just what it is. It doesn't, we wouldn't have any zoning thing on that sort of situation. But if the commission wants to postpone this, yeah, that's up to you all. Staff feel comfortable with our recommendation, though.
So is the threshold, if it was 3 occupants or less, you wouldn't need this, only for 4 or more?
4 or 5, yeah.
So you're adding 1. They could do 3 or less and not even have to come in front of us. It's technically for 1 person.
Yeah.
And I've been on the board for quite a bit now, and we've dealt with Augustana in particular, and there's a couple guys that came before us that have multiple properties. It's very saturated with either Augustana or private owners that are renting them out to students. And you just look, it's just on the same street, 1, 2, 3. There's 3 Augustana, and you look at any LLC, you can assume that they're probably students. You go across the street, there's LLCs. I mean, I counted 13. So I don't know if the city's got a plan. I don't know if the city has any questions about saturation, or, if you said you're pretty comfortable with it, so that's why I made my motion.
Did this gentleman live there before and just now started renting it out, or is he asking for forgiveness because he's already renting it out?
I don't believe he's already renting it out, but I'm not, Eunice has been involved with it more than I have, so I'll let her answer that.
Okay, so he has been in compliance with the 3 and under, so he's been renting it out already.
Okay, answers my question.
I believe he has a registered rental property, and I believe it came up through that process.
Thank you, guys.
Makes sense.
Any other discussion? We have a motion to approve on the floor, so I'll take a roll call. Mavis,
Yes.
Moline,
Yes.
Odiemi,
Yes.
Riggs votes yes. Sowards,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Wright. 8 ayes, no nays. I'm sorry, Gregor. I forgot you're at the end. My bad. 8 ayes, no nays. Motion carries. Next item is approval of the 2026 public meeting schedule. Looks like, has everyone had a chance to take a look at it? Are there any questions? If not, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Kreger, second by Wright. Any discussion?
Just so folks know, the February date is a little odd. We're proposing it to be on the first Wednesday of the month. We have another meeting that night for a TIF public hearing, and just with kind of the rigmarole of the different state statutes that we have to abide by, it's just easier to move our meeting, shift it a little later in the week if that's okay with folks. It doesn't have to be that date. It just can't be the second or the first Monday of that month.
And September 7th is not Labor Day, is that correct? I think we ran into that last
year. Can somebody confirm that looking at a calendar?
September 7th is Labor Day.
Okay.
Well done, Ms. Riggs.
Well,
Can we make it you want to do it the following week? Or Wednesday? Does the commission have any opinion on that?
Wednesday the 9th? Yeah.
So is there a motion to approve this meeting schedule with the amendment of September 9th instead of September 7th?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Witten, second by Sowards. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Do we need a roll call for this, Tanner, or can we do a voice vote?
Roll call's probably
Okay.
fine, if you don't mind.
Moline.
Yes.
Odiyemi.
Yes.
Riggs votes yes. Sowards.
Yes.
Witten.
Yes.
Wright. Kreger.
Yes.
Mavis.
Yes.
8 ayes, no nays. Motion carries. Okay, now we can go on to community listening session number 2 on the proposed urban agriculture ordinance. Tanner?
Alrighty, thank you. So appreciate folks showing up. I know the weather's pretty rough out there, but appreciate the folks that came here. I see some familiar faces, so this presentation, it's the same one as before, so I'll kind of breeze through it. But for the new folks and the folks listening at home, we will go over it quickly. So on tonight's agenda, brief welcome, kind of where we're at now. Going to go over a quick ordinance overview, very high level of what is in the ordinance, kind of its background, purpose, key provisions. Also have some key takeaways, very short, from the first community listening session, and then we will open it up for Q&A. And then we will conclude with some next steps and closing remarks. So a little bit on what is urban ag. Urban ag includes a lot of different things: gardening, chicken keeping, beekeeping, and raising livestock, all in an urban setting. Many residents in Rock Island already engage in these activities. We have a lot of vegetable gardening going on inside of the city, and also some more commercialized agriculture in our southwest area. We also have urban chicken keeping. We have a license for that, and I believe we have 16 urban chicken keeping licenses out right now. So how is urban ag regulated in Rock Island? Like I just said, we have a urban chicken ordinance that follows a licensing structure. The state of Illinois also has a Bee and Apiaries Act and the Right to Garden Act. Those are two frameworks we used when crafting this ordinance. Other than that, the city has no particular requirements on urban agriculture. So why create an ordinance? One of the main reasons is to encourage urban agriculture and affirm residents' right to produce their own food. Another part of this is helping folks be good neighbors to help prevent conflicts between neighbors and ensure certain activities are well maintained. Right now we have property maintenance standards for just a regular house on a particular property in the city, but we don't have any standards for other urban agriculture activities that might occur on that property. So this ordinance is kind of a vehicle to provide clear standards for upkeep and then an enforcement process when problems do occur. So what will this help? This slide shows a picture of 2 untended gardens. The ordinance will help staff address certain things in these images, like the overgrown vegetation, as well as rotting produce or any other materials that are strewn across those properties. So now on to some key provisions of the ordinance. On occupied lots, things like gardening, chicken keeping, and beekeeping are allowed. So this would be, your regular property with a house on it. There would be no height or setback limits for garden areas. I know that was a point of concern in one of the initial drafts of this ordinance, and so that's something we have proposed removing from the updated draft. On vacant lots, the ordinance would allow urban agriculture, provided a 5-foot buffer. Setback area is maintained along the perimeter of the property. No chicken or beekeeping would be allowed. This is the case now. Composting, water tanks, and sheds would be allowed on these properties within certain parameters. In Southwest Rock Island, we work to recognize kind of the more rural nature of that area out there, trying to mirror some of the county's requirements for properties that are just outside of the city. So we would propose permitting livestock on those properties if they are can maintain over an acre of enclosed area, and then there would be less restrictions on chicken keeping and beekeeping, mainly with the setbacks and where those activities could be located on the property. And then for prohibited properties, Basically, the only area where urban agriculture would not be allowed are on properties with vacant, abandoned, or foreclosed properties. These properties are registered with the city, and so basically for public safety reasons, we wouldn't allow urban agriculture on those properties. So a little more on some of the key provisions here. One of the main things is nuisance management, so establishing a clear process to address issues like rotting crops, overgrown weeds, or problematic animals like the rooster you see in the picture there. We would also include a variance process, so this commission handles variances from the zoning ordinance, such as the cases you saw tonight. Staff is proposing something similar in the urban ag ordinance. So say somebody wanted to keep maybe a little more livestock on their property in Southwest Rock Island than what is allowed, or have smaller setbacks for a chicken keeping area, they would be allowed to submit that request to staff. We would review it and then present it to the commission like you saw here tonight with the other cases, and they would make a decision on it. So in summary, we see more and more residents interested in urban agriculture, and that's a great thing. Staff and the city are proposing simple rules to be implemented to help reduce some compatibility issues. And overall, urban agriculture benefits the community and is a selling point for the city. And then to conclude here, before we open it up to Q&A, just some takeaways from the first listening session. Overall, there was general support for some basic maintenance standards. Folks talked about some of the issues that they see in their neighborhood. Other folks got to hear from that. So I think overall there was support for that. There are still some concerns, though, over some provisions of the ordinance, such as the setbacks on vacant lots and some of the limitations on season extending structures. There was also interest in kind of a community shared garden space idea that was floated around. One note on this is that while staff think that's a interesting idea and can be a cool concept, it doesn't necessarily address some of the concerns that this ordinance is trying to help out with. That space would be in addition to like other gardening activities, other urban agriculture activities in the city. So great idea if somebody wants to do that, you're welcome to it, but not something this ordinance is going to be able to cover or address. And so with that, going to open it up for discussion here. Please keep your questions, comments, 1 to 2 minutes. We'll have plenty of time for discussion, I think, with the group here. And then other housekeeping standards there. I won't go over those in detail, but let's have a good discussion. And so with that, I will open it up. I forgot my sign-up sheet up here. So Kathleen, you're first on the list. Got all my stuff. All right. I'll have you talking to the microphone just so we can hear you on the minutes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen North, and I'm a Rock Island resident. Before I say anything else, I just want to acknowledge this is a casual listening environment, and my papers make me seem formal, but they help me to stay on topic and not go rogue. So, gardening is a big part of my life, and I have enjoyed spending time listening to the stories of our neighbors about how urban gardening has been affecting them. I appreciate these listening sessions. I did not attend the previous one in person, but I did listen online. Overall, I heard that the urban agriculture ordinance is a good thing to have, and while there are still some things that need to be clarified, folks are generally appreciative of the less restrictive current draft. I agree with that. I think the ordinance, as written now, is mostly fine and much improved. But I also heard that it might be only one part of the solution that our neighbors in the West End are asking for, in regards specifically to vacant lots. What came up in the last listening session wasn't just about the rules, but in my opinion, it was more about a communication gap instead. There's currently no successful feedback loop between frustrated neighbors, gardeners, and the city. At least as far as I can tell, there is not a city staff position for someone who is specifically focusing in the day-to-day with urban agriculture and those who are involved in it. I'm happy to be wrong on that. So from the last listening session, I wanted to share some examples of what I was hearing. Mr. Robinson talked about there being a breakdown in communication between residents and gardeners in vacant lots, leading to sometimes hostile interactions. Mr. Isaac spoke about the need for cross-cultural education and communication efforts. Ms. Elena spoke about there's missing mediation and context between neighbors about gardens. And Alderman Evans spoke about residents in his ward feeling like there's nothing they can do to change anything about how the gardens currently are. All these comments were pointing to the same root issue, which is people don't feel like there's anyone at the city who is responsible for helping them to navigate these situations. Without a person to collaborate with at the city level, that's what led us to create some basic guidelines with this ordinance, which is a fine thing to have. However, the main way it sounds like we want to communicate the ordinance and the guidelines is through nuisance violations. Nuisance violations are one piece of communication, and they do have their place, but they'll never stand in for a city that takes responsibility for communicating their expectations ahead of time in a way that is equitable for residents across Rock Island and those who choose to garden here. I'm going to share a personal experience. So when I received a nuisance violation for vegetation in my yard, the official notice that I was mailed did not communicate in an accessible way that left much room for me to disagree. Yes, I knew that I had 7 days to take care of this, but the issue wasn't actually listed in the violation, and it was not an issue that was in accordance with any ordinance, and so it was confusing. Nor were there pictures that I could observe and figure out what part of my yard was being talked about, in addition to the threat of having the city come and abate a space in my yard that I had worked really hard on. Anyway, the point is, I'm a native English speaker. I had time to figure it out. My nuisance violation was resolved after I drove my vehicle down to City Hall and handed in my appeal within those 7 days. I did do some abatement on my own, and everyone was happy at the end. But not everyone will have the luxury of being able to navigate a nuisance violation if they believe it is wrongfully assigned to them. And that's where I think the system breaks down. So what I'm suggesting is that nuisance violations as the main form of communication is the city choosing to offload onto an ordinance to do all the work. When there is not a city garden coordinator to help communicate, the only tool left is punishment. There's a term for this when a system relies on violations that keep escalating instead of giving support. It becomes a form, there's many words for it, but one is coercive compliance. So it pushes people out through pressure, fines, and fear of making future mistakes. So if nuisance notices aren't enough and the ordinance can't solve communication gaps by itself, what might actually work? In the long term, it could be an urban agriculture coordinator, ideally, in my mind, a city staff position that is dedicated to communication, mediation, education, and accountability, someone who handles the complaints when they come in, and the people actually feel like they're being listened to. All things that folks talked about in the previous listening session. So I think it's well worth the effort to address this in a way that goes beyond ordinances and nuisance violations for compliance, because urban agriculture is not going away, as was talked about before, and grocery prices are going up, and the need for us to relate to each other will always be there. So an urban garden coordinator, I believe, is the missing person who can hold the system together and complete feedback loops that people have been asking for.
Thanks. You can give it right to Nina's next on the
Right to
list,
me.
but I'll just note a couple things. Thanks for your feedback there, Kathleen. I appreciate it. One thing that the city is doing as part of this process, this upcoming Thursday, we have a local gardener meeting. It's mainly focused on immigrant and refugee communities. We have a cultural liaison who's contracted with the city staff for the past few years now. He's well connected in that community. He helped us run our urban garden program in the past. So he's been inviting folks, getting the word out about that meeting. We have a session at 10 a.m. and a session at 5:30. We're going to be in this same space. We talked with him, and he felt like that was the most accessible space for people just because it's a space they're familiar with already. So we're inviting folks here. Going to go over a similar presentation as we did tonight, probably more focused on things on vacant lots because that's what that community participates in primarily. and he will help interpret that presentation. So we are working on getting some of that feedback, and we will also rely on him throughout the process as we move forward. So I just wanted to note those couple items before we move on. So, Nina, you're up next.
Boy. I'm Nina Struess. I am and have been a lifelong Rock Island resident. I currently reside in Ward 5, and like Kathleen, gardening's been a huge part of my life. I've actually spent a significant part of my life in community gardens here and in other states as well, and continue to regularly support this type of work as well. I have experience with the community garden program that used to be a part of the City of Rock Island through the Nest Cafe Garden. We were one of the only English-speaking gardens at the time when we were in the program. And it was a really big eye-opener to see what it was like to garden on a vacant lot. So I can understand the necessity for some of these regulations and ordinances, especially as it pertains to, trash and invasive species and weeds and et cetera, et cetera. It's hard to follow up because honestly, I think Kathleen had a lot of really good points. I think it's great that you're inviting people in other types of sessions, because where there is a really big gap is this communication breakdown. There's a lot of misunderstanding that is going on, and while it's really great to have these meetings to bring people here, I would also encourage the city to have some sort of follow-up actually within the communities as well, with those communities that do own those private properties. I'm still flagging also the Right to Garden Act. I think that, the Right to Garden Act protects the residents' fundamental right to grow food, and it prohibits local regulations that effectively prevent gardening on residential property. And so while this ordinance doesn't necessarily outright ban vegetable gardening, it is imposing restrictions that do inhibit productive vegetable gardening. Specifically, the buffers, I know that there is the opportunity to apply for, a different setback variance, but again, that's another hoop to jump through. I think about, we have our Nest Cafe Garden plot is now on property that we own, but if we have to follow the 5-foot buffers and we want to put the shed on there to keep things nice and tidy and within regulation, and rain barrels to make sure that the water collection is also within regulation, and a compost bin, those all have to be within those buffers. And so that significantly limits how we can grow. Additionally, when you look at that from the greenhouses and anything that extends the growing season, I don't understand why we are having regulations on how long we can grow food. Cold frames, hoop houses during the growing season, which is being categorized as May through October, can be utilized 4 weeks before and 4 weeks after, but not actually during the growing season either. It makes little practical sense and prevents that year-round food production. I can't understand why we're restricting growing foods throughout even these months right now, December through March, when we could be growing root vegetables, greens, herbs. Not only that, but cold frames and hoop houses can actually be constructed in a way where they can overlay over garden beds, and they can actually help to provide shade for those cold weather crops, as we are continuing to experience hotter and hotter summers earlier on too. So that was another concern and question that I had of why we're worried about, why we're regulating that, I guess, especially since those can kind of help in a sense with some of that tidiness too. And then I know that it's come up pretty significantly, the pests issue, and that makes me wonder if that's why there's a buffer, because of pests. Gardens bring pests. However, In practice, well-maintained vegetable gardens are no more likely to attract pests than poorly maintained lawns, unkept flower beds, unsecured garbage bins, or fruit-bearing ornamental trees and bushes. So I think, as you had mentioned, this issue is maintenance and responsible property stewardship and ensuring that we're talking with those who can better understand that. I do believe that there is this need to have further connection with these communities who are one of the reasons why we're here, why this ordinance is in place, because they don't understand that the buckets that are out there that they're just trying to collect the water for is a health hazard, right? So I would continue to reiterate what Kathleen says in having the city explore some sort of longer term option to really ensure that we're not just citing people and eventually citing them to the point where we kick them out and we have another vacant lot.
Did you say that you're a resident of Rock Island or a resident of?
Yep, I'm in Ward 5. And I have a garden on my plot too.
All righty. Thanks, Nina. And just, I mentioned it at the last listening session, but a note on the season extending structures. Part of that language is, these are more temporary structures in nature, and staff have experienced situations where the plastic is all tattered and flying off the structure. So part of this was just to address those types of situations. Granted, there may be different ways to do that, and that's something we're happy to workshop. I flagged it in the key takeaways. Ian Forsland mentioned it at the last listening session as well, so happy to get together maybe a group of folks to workshop that a little more in detail. If there's some alternative language we could come up with that would basically get at the heart of kind of what the concern is there, if that makes sense. Other than that, any other folks wanting to speak on anything? No? Andy?
What is the idea behind the 5-foot buffer, whether or not there's a house or not on that property? Like, what difference is that? Because if there's a house there, there's no buffer requirements. But if there's not one, it's a 5-foot buffer. What's the thinking behind that?
So the 5-foot buffer requirement on vacant lots is one of the concerns we've heard from folks who are living in the neighborhood, specifically the West End neighborhood, is that these gardens go right up to the property line. And so to give folks a little more breathing room, whether that helps with pests or it doesn't, but provides just a little bit of space between their property and the adjacent activity, which is, not a house, it's less common overall in certain neighborhoods, to provide just some buffer room there. Yeah, go for it. I can have you talking to the mic too if it's easier. Thanks.
Yeah, so I noticed in the key takeaways from the last listening session up on the slideshow, there was interest in the community garden type method, and you explained a little bit about that and how staff thought that was maybe an interesting idea, nice. I just want to add that I also think it is a nice idea, an ideal idea, something that would be wonderful to have, and I would be all over it if we had that, but I just want to mention that it's not going to solve any problems if we just choose a plot of land and divide it up and have people pay on it. I know that talk of the 11th Street area was mentioned in the last session, and it would probably take a lot of infrastructure work and be very costly to actually make attractive for people to want to go garden there and to have all the people who want to go corn to go there. I don't think that's the solution. I don't think that solves anything. And I think that it would be far more costly than some of the less expensive but still costly, staffing decisions that would have to be made. I think it would probably be 5 times as much as a staffed salary to create a community garden that has the infrastructure that is needed: lighting, sidewalks, bus stop accessibility, etc.
I just also wanted to add to, with the buffer, if there's a way to look at incorporating native plants, native vegetation that can be supportive on that area to help support our local biodiversity. I noticed, biodegradable mulching options needed to be necessary. So wanted to also put in a plug for leaves. Leaves are actually biodegradable and can be a really great mulch option. I think sometimes one of my other concerns with this ordinance is that we are going to do what we do with lawns, and our lawns have to be tidy and pretty and green. And our gardens are now going to have to be tidy and pretty and clean. And unfortunately, when we do that in some aspects, that affects the quality of our gardens. Not necessarily rotting produce, but leaving stems and things like that in the ground and the roots helps to retain that soil retention. It helps with flood control. It's incredibly important for nutrient retention, which is vitamins and minerals for the foods that we're growing. And also to, leaving stems up in the winter, all of those different types of things that make our gardens and yards look a little bit messier actually have a function in the whole sense of the biodiversity. So as Kathleen was talking about, when we're talking about having conversations, and there needs to be an education piece that's incorporated, I think, into this too. And again, we're not just going around tagging, oh, that's overgrown, when maybe it's supposed to be overgrown for certain purposes. Oh, that's another citation, that's another citation. That's my fear with a lot of this, is we're just gonna, be citing all over the place when we could really utilize this as an opportunity to also provide that education too. Oh, I used to. I don't anymore. But I used to garden. I used to be in charge of the garden at the Milan Hy-Vee for 8 years. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that structure, but I ran that garden all summer long and had the Boys and Girls Club and Spring Forward groups come out. And then, as I mentioned, I helped with the Nest Cafe garden when we were a part of the City of Rock Island's program, and now that's being run by one of our, by the owner's son. So I don't currently do that, but I am in the field of, I'm in the environmental advocacy field, so I do a lot from the standpoint of certified wildlife habitats and helping from the standpoint of encouraging more native vegetation and encouraging that along with vegetable gardening too, because we need our pollinators to have vegetables. So I apologize if there was a miscommunication in that.
The lady next to you there, I'm sorry, how many parcels do you have?
Just the one.
Just one?
Mm-hmm.
Big one, little one? Address? What's the address?
Can I tell you later? My
Yeah,
address?
Yeah.
It's not big, it's not little, and the portion of land that I actually grow vegetables on is rather small compared to the native plant garden that's also on the same property.
All right.
I suppose it's safe to say we're homeowners that have gardens of our own, but we're also concerned about this ordinance and how it's affecting others who have vacant lots within the city of Rock Island. So, yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, here you go.
First of all, I'm Glenn Evans. I'm the alderman who brought this up. I do want to thank the city for all that they've done to actually bring the conversation together. You are correct. We needed the conversation. But the other thing that I'm dealing with is, since we met the last time, I went through my ward and I found at least 3 properties that were abandoned. The still was never cleaned up. They were just abandoned. And I'm sure that I can probably find even more. So when we're talking about leaving the vegetation or leaving the stuff sitting there, sometimes we deal with a community that does not always stay here either. And so we've got to make sure that our neighbors understand that we care about them too. And so that's really where we've been at as far as this. We're not trying to regulate what people do in their home gardens, but we also have a renovation project going on in the First Ward that some of those properties would be great to put houses back on. And so, not that I'm trying to take them, but the reality is if they're not going to maintain them, yes, I will fight to take them.
When you say they leave,
Yeah.
is it no longer their property?
They've left the area and left, it's not been maintained and it's been a while. And one of them actually happens to be across from one of my dad's cousins. And so we've been paying attention to it, that it's just not being taken care of, and it's not the city's responsibility. Because like you said, they could just have been left it there, but now to find out that these people have actually left the area completely, and that's been sitting there and nobody's been actually knowing that they could have actually changed the site. So we need to be aware and be good neighborly. And it seems like that's where a lot of the problems have been, is, like you said, communication. But this was the opportunity of how to bring that back to a forefront. And I understand we talk about regulations. The thing is we needed this conversation one way or the other. And if it came down to regulations, sometimes most people can figure it out like you did. You went, once they sent it to you, you came to an understanding, you knew you had to do something. Right now we have people knowing they need to do something. That going into next season or the season after that, we may not have to have this conversation ever again, but there was something going on that was wrong and we needed to address it. So thank you, and I do appreciate all of your concerns.
You have something, Andy? No.
I didn't plan on saying much, but this is like my fourth.
You're good.
You're good.
Mm-hmm.
This is like my fourth public setting for comment and what have you on this topic, and I commend Rock Island. The only reason I've been kind of so involved is when it first came out, it was a lot more regulation than discussion. It felt like, there was height requirements and then further setbacks, and I think I'm hoping maybe you pass that along after our last meeting about the Right to Garden Act. That's a big concern of mine because it'll be challenged legally. Any restrictions on gardening is going to be challenged, and which brings along fun headlines for Rock Island and legal costs like that. So, but every time I do come to one of these, the needle moves for me a little bit about why this does need to happen. Like the ordinance itself might not be as doom and gloom as I thought it might be, and why there is a genuine need for this. I came to last one and I looked at pictures with some people who were pleading for help and stuff, and I definitely see the concern. So just wanted to commend. It gets a little bit better, I guess, in my opinion, every time I come back. The ordinance makes it's a little more I don't know what the word is, but logical to me. So it's a good conversation for sure at this point. I think that's about all I had.
Sure. Thanks for that. Anyone else? Yeah?
Should
Talking to the microphone.
I can ask.
pressure? Yeah, sorry.
Got it?
I'd like to get a little bit more information on what things can be applied to a variance, or for what can you apply for a variance. I'm not sure how to word that properly, but so can that be for the greenhouses, for the hoop houses they were talking about? Can you apply for a variance for those? Can you apply for a variance to operate in those year round? I guess what my main point is, the regulations that don't sit well with people, can they apply for a variance on those things? And then can you kind of go over what that process looks like?
Yeah, sure. So basically it's set up similar to the zoning ordinance where you could apply for a variance of pretty much everything. So The season extending structures would be included in that. If folks wanted to extend the time, they were able to use those, or, you know, it has a size limitation to it. If folks wanted maybe a larger hoop house or something like that, then what would be allowed, they could certainly apply for a variance for that. It's a pretty simple process where they would submit an application that we have available online for a variance request. Basically write down why they're applying for one, why they need one. Staff would then evaluate that request based on its merits, so that would include some of the standards that we discussed earlier tonight in the two other cases, but, you know, unique circumstances, it isn't necessary for a reasonable return on the property, and will it alter the character of the neighborhood? And those are the three main criteria that we have in the zoning ordinance. Staff would write a staff report, make a recommendation. The Planning and Zoning Commission would then evaluate things like they did here tonight, the merits of the request, and then make a decision. So typically the applicant comes before the commission, states their case, gives reasons why they're applying for one, and then go from there. Anyone else? No? Okay. Anybody from the commission have anything? No? Alrighty, so just to conclude with a little, some next steps here. Like I mentioned, we do have a Gardner meeting. This is focused on immigrant refugee communities. Other folks are welcome to attend, but we're really going to tailor the discussion towards those folks. We have two sessions just to be a little more accessible for folks, one at 10 a.m. and then one at 5:30 p.m. The city ran similar meetings in the past when we had our own urban guard meeting, and this was a good way to communicate to those folks. January 5th, our first meeting in January, is when the ordinance is expected to come back to the Planning and Zoning Commission. There will be a public hearing at that meeting. It will be a little bit different than the setup we had here tonight, so that'll just be general comment. There won't be a back and forth. I won't get to discuss things with you during that time. And then after that meeting, it'll be on to City Council for a final decision. So in the meantime, we do have a web page with this information, so kind of outlining my presentation tonight. It's similar on that web page. There is opportunity to provide feedback on an online form, or you can send it to cedmail@rigov.org. I think I know a lot of folks in the room, so if you have any specific comments, you can just feel free to contact me directly as well. We are hoping to get most of the feedback before December 15th, so we can incorporate that. If anything can change in the ordinance, or if we get a consensus on things from folks, we can make adjustments well in advance of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. And with that, just want to thank folks for their time. Feel free to reach out with any questions.
Is this the only proposed urban ag ordinance in Quad Cities? I think you've answered that.
To my knowledge, yes. To my knowledge, yeah. 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 A lot of communities, we have different circumstances than a lot of our neighbors. Some things we look to our neighbors for with certain things. This one happens to be one where we can't really do that. But staff did evaluate other, framework communities had for this sorts of thing. Seattle and King County area were two of the areas that actually have some things on this that we worked from. Peoria has a little bit lighter of an ordinance or provisions on this sort of thing as well. So, thank you. All right. I will turn it back over to the chair to adjourn us.